Hi folks, welcome back to the 8 regions. So we have week 2 and starting with our match against Night's Watch. So we have Marek playing Baratheon trading with Qohor in our first game against Mog, who is playing Night's Watch Crossing. So this looks like it could be a pretty quick one. Yeah, so first week Baratheon won against Terrell. I think it was 5-2 in the end, and Night's Watch, if I'm not mistaken, lost against Stark. So I guess slight pressure here on Night's Watch to get a result. Although in this round they are resting Argento and Firebart, which I think is great news for us, because they are two of their strongest players that we were worried about. And these two players ranked first after the first week. Of course, a lot of players are tied, and then they're sorted in some way on the jousting pavilion that I'm not exactly sure what the logic is. But they both won their game, so a chance for one of them to win in both of the first 2 weeks. And we have some interesting cards. Ghost of High Heart, so going for the non-loyal team, I guess, in Night's Watch, and Cotter Pike. Now what does he do? He has characters gain stealth, so I guess we'll have some non-kneelers here with stealth, possibly. That character is a Divan that lets everyone do a challenge without kneeling if they have stealth, and possibly Jon Snow for the stand maybe. And Baratheon starts without attachments. King's Road and 2 characters. Now Qohor does give 1 gold away if you start without attachments, and Mog is first player here. Both players opening with the Maiden to go for initiative, and yeah, Marek actually won this one, and because of the King's Road, and selected Mog to go first. So if he plans to do that in future rounds, then I don't think there will be a conflict, because Mog wants to go first anyway. Although if we see Warhammers and any other source of intimidate, then this I'm sure will change. Now what do we have here? Sir Jeremy Riker gives power icons to other rangers, and we have Vindictive Ranger who gains stealth if you lose a challenge, and gains other icons as well. So this is a pretty decent start. Now will we see something big? Robert, the fast one, but he could do with an attachment. No gold left on the other side, which means there isn't a threat of any put to the sword, put to the torch, stuff like that. There is a bodyguard, now assuming there is other stuff, since Marek used the King's Road. Yeah. And he has Godry the Giant Slayer. Will take some time to get Intimidate, maybe it won't happen, it usually doesn't. But he is another lore character, so if we see Azor Ahai Reborn at some point, that will be useful. Currently only the one cost attachment. And getting rid of Acolyte of the Flame, giving Marek a mystery card, which he seems to appreciate. Yeah, he could do with attachments for sure. See if he has any plots that would help him draw some attachments. And going for the power challenge first. Yeah, crossing can be fast, so I need to be careful a little bit not to give too much unopposed away. But of course also Marek wants to keep some characters standing to do the challenges back, because he too is playing a rush deck here. Letting this one go. And the other two challenges coming up. So we have military. This one can be defended again if Marek wants to. Yeah, he has one extra character here that can defend something. He will be able to do the 3 challenges back. And he decides on Robert. Okay, Robert gets his renown on defense. And intrigue is the crossing challenge. Which now might be left unopposed, so there isn't any... There's a Winterblot card revealed, so this one will be difficult to achieve. There isn't any obvious penalty for losing this one by 5 or anything like that. Even Relentless Assault doesn't really work because the characters are all knelt. Yeah, he's making this decision with every challenge whether to defend it or not, and it is important because crossing is fast, so don't want to under defend here. Yeah, and he does defend, so that lets him do 2 challenges back unless he can bring something in with Qohor. Now what does he do? I'm sure power is one of them. And what will Godry do? Board is reasonably small, so he could go for military, but he goes for intrigue instead. And gets a nice hit. Qorin, who would be annoying with his ability. Now what do we have here? You can trade 1 for 1. So, okay, going for Milk of the Poppy. One of the few characters, of course, in Night's Watch that can be milked. Although it doesn't seem to be causing too many problems, Quarterbike currently. Yeah, but there was no reason to keep the bodyguard because Robert is already protected. And we have the power challenge for a nice start. It's going to be 6 with dominance after Fiery Follower stands. 6 to 1. And yeah, almost halfway there for the Baratheon deck, but dangerously low on cards. Now this is extremely good here. Forced March will kneel the entire board, and I'm sure heads will hit because Mog had a look at the hand, so he knows. Yeah, Selisi is a good one to hit for sure, but he is in some trouble now because his characters will be knelt, and he has only 5 gold here to bring out new stuff. Deciding on only 2. Yeah, he has no hand, so wants to keep at least something standing for attack, and of course Davos has stealth. Oh, hopefully a character was drawn here. Looks like something big even. Stannis, okay. Big one, no attachments, but still not too bad. Of course, Milk of the Poppy can be traded for a Disputed Claim or a Warhammer here, which helps going first. Fortunately, no intrigue icon here. Yeah, nailed both of them, and both are lower characters. So if he drew Azor Ahai Reborn, that would be slightly unfortunate. And what can Mog do here? Ranging party with reasonable strength, and puts another power icon in here as well, which is quite decent. But if he wants any hope of doing the crossing of challenge here, so all 3 challenges, of course he can auto-pose, and yeah, 6 power here, so I don't think that's an option. He needs to play defensively, I think, now. Now let's see, is there a challenge that can be pushed through pretty easily here? I think military should be easy enough with Davos, and power of course is the one he wants. And yeah, that seems fairly easy as well, so it's just a question of sequencing things in the right order here. And Stannis gets some draw as well. Possibly put the Warhammer in to intimidate Ghost of Highheart if it's still standing, to avoid intrigue. I wonder what the cost of that ranger event is when you kneel 2 rangers and kill each attacking character. Haven't seen that in some time, but I think it's cost 1, so slightly dangerous with that. Yeah, so best to concentrate on the power challenge first. I think Davos and Stannis should be strong enough. Or Davos and Robert. Well, choices to be made, but I think they all lead to the same result. I think the players can take some liberties with the time here, because it's for sure going to end way before time expires. Okay, so trying to win the power challenge with the minimum resources invested, which is slightly weird. And that includes Robert, who has the ability to gain additional power, so I think he should be in the challenge you try to win for sure. So I would have gone for power with everything here. And Stannis, of course, has the draw, and you're low on cards here. But letting it go. Okay. And now there are no 2 rangers to kneel, so whatever threat there was doesn't really exist. And Stannis should be strong enough to do the military challenge and trade the milk for Warhammer. Or even a little bird on Davos. Or a disputed claim. So plenty of options. We have off to Galtown, giving the ghost the military icon. And defending with the other characters, so Stannis now can intimidate the ghost if he gets the Warhammer. Fortunately, cannot bring Lightbringer in. So it's either Warhammer, I think, or Disputed Claim to give Stannis renown. But doing nothing, keeping the milk. Okay. And this will be unopposed intrigue. No? Yeah, that's the one he can push through. He could use his ability, but that's probably slightly worse here, even though you get a choice of cards, you're giving one back. No way to win dominance, yeah, so I think this is the only reasonable option. And it's a character which I'm sure Mog is pleased about. Still on the back foot though, 10 to 3, and 2 of those is of course from the heads on spikes that hit Cilici earlier. Forced march is limit 1, so can do that trick again. Yeah, drop lot, something like you win or you die. Would be pretty strong, I think, here for Marek. I wonder what Mog can do here. Morgul is not in the deck because he took the dupe off earlier, and the Harris characters are pretty big, so that's questionable. He could just try to win initiative, I guess, and go first with some Intimidator, gaining power very quickly, but I don't see that happening, and there isn't really enough economy to support any kind of rush here. Okay, Winter Festival against the Mad King's Command, which is slightly unusual with so many characters on the board, but of course that lets him go first. And he has a dupe, and he will keep the 3 big ones. And now it's a problem here for Mog. He has 7 cards, but already 5 characters on the board, so anything he plays out now just gets moved to the bottom unless it's an attachment or location. And again, Marek can use Stannis to draw a bit after the Mad King command resolves. Still no attachments though, and if Qohor Pike is not chosen, then the milk will be going away, and there won't be any opportunity to do a Qohor trigger, so he really needs an attachment here, I think. and no use really marshalling any characters here, so I would just marshal locations or attachments if he does have any. There it is. Now, Stannis is a lore character, of course. Yeah, so that's a pretty good position now. And this can be traded for Seal of the Hand, for instance, or anything like a Lightbringer. So I think Mog needs some way to defend against this now, or it could be game over in this round. Yeah, there he is, Dyven. Now he's very strong. As you see, Cotterpike, now we do have a Winterplot. Can have characters gain stealth, and there's some printed stealth, I'm sure, in the deck as well. So this guy can potentially do a whole challenge with a bunch of characters without anyone kneeling. And here we go. So Stannis, Robert, and Godry. That's Robert with Azor Ahai and 2 lore characters. Against Dyven, Sir Jeremy Riker, and Vindictive Ranger. So Milk going away. Means there is only one attachment to be traded with Qohor. And the rest of the cards, of course, kept here. And we can already start looking at the calculations, so there should be 10 power on defense, so this is pretty easy to push through with Robert and Stannis. And that means 1 power for claim, 1 for Robert's renown, 1 for Robert's trigger. That gets him to 13. Then potentially Lightbringer on Stannis would be 14, although that doesn't quite work out timing wise, because you would trade the attachment away to get Lightbringer, so Robert wouldn't be in the challenge anymore. Or just start with Intrigue, of course. Get the renown there, and then you have Robert and Stannis for the power challenge. So without seeing any of these 4 cards, there is one, of course, that went back to hand, so the noble lineage is in hand. So without knowing the other 3, doesn't seem like there is any defense here. It should be game over. Yeah, definitely benefiting from initiative here. 9 on Forced March and now 6 on this one. And Crossing, not the best at stalling games, of course, because it needs the characters to do their challenges, so it's not strongly opposing anything. And starting with military. And that's the one challenge I would personally avoid, because I'm not sure if anything could happen to the attacking characters here. But fair enough, it's unlikely that there would be Any tricks in hand? And that's now 12. Keeping the attachment, so Robert can do the intrigue challenge as well. And he is limit twice per round, so he can trigger again. This one needs to be opposed as well. Yeah, keeping the attachment and the power challenge. Should win the game. Yeah, quick one, as promised. In round 3, going first and getting to 15. I think it was possible to get even to 17 here before any counter. And yeah, not prepared for this particular deck, which I guess this is the advantage Baratheon has in this format. It has many options compared to other decks, although we are slightly worried, I can admit that, about Night's Watch, because they have pretty extreme differences in their decks. They have the wall defense, which plays very passively, defending everything, getting the passive power, and they have a deck like this that plays completely differently, the crossing rush, and they have the choke, they have the stewards and stuff like that plays in a different way. But yeah, got this one pretty well, and that's the first win here for Baratheon in round 2. Marek gets his second win. So the other games, some still to be scheduled, but hopefully we can bring you most of them from this second round match. And hope to see you in the other games as well. Thanks for joining me.